Inside the men, there were 3 bullets.
Look at this face.
You brought 2 too many.
Now, look at this one.
You don't believe in the Lysine guy?
On the left is a landscape. It's a face that feels like it's part of the world it inhabits.
Cheyenne's right. Once you've killed 4, it's easy to make it 5.
It's cracked, weathered, and reflects time spent in the harsh sun.
We have more than one, you and me.
On the right is a portrait.
Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy.
Hey.
It's clean, smooth, and bathed in light that nearly erases all sense of texture.
Talk to me, Thomas.
Both characters are heroes of their respective stories, but the language used to film them is radically different, and it raises an important question. Why has the texture of the human face in cinema changed so dramatically?
Man can't even trust his own pants.
It's not simply that older films look old. In fact, some modern films still take this approach. When creating his 30s noir-inspired film Mank, David Fincher decided to embrace the single-source, hard light, high contrast, deep depth of field look.
Not in relays. Help spread the blame around.
But there's been a fundamental aesthetic shift in how we light, film, and process the human face. We've moved from an age of harsh grit to one of clean gloss, utilizing technology to create the look that we now consider to be cinematic.
In theory, I know all about you.
But to understand where we are, we have to understand where we came from. Prior to the 2000s, the vast majority of movies were filmed on, well, film. And while it certainly has its benefits, it also has its drawbacks. And one of the biggest, especially for older cameras, was a much slower shutter speed. In other words, they needed brighter light to make sure the film was properly exposed. This led to many cinematographers using hard key lights, typically tungsten lights, that produced an incredibly high contrast source, leading to defined shadows and visible textures. But this wasn't the only light source films used.
They say people with fair skin can't take too much.
Older westerns, like Leone's Dollars trilogy, were filmed on location in the desert. They did this to utilize the bright, harsh sunlight, not only helping to illuminate the scene, but providing them with the dynamic and strong shadows they wanted to portray. That means besides the heat from the tungsten lights, they also had to deal with the natural heat of the environment.
No, you dig. You dig.
This is why the actors in those films tend to look the way they do. Many films wanted to portray the characters as realistically as possible, and that meant allowing the natural sweat and dust of the desert to provide them with even more texture and detail.
But they can still shoot holes big enough for our little problems.
And the shine that many of these actors had was due not only to real sweat, but also to artificial makeup.
One thing that's never discussed in these movies is that these actors wear an incredible amount of makeup, as if they're all sunburned. And you really get a sense of the dust and the heat and the location.
If conditions weren't providing directors with the look they desired, they would have the actor sprayed with a glycerin mix or coated in Vaseline to simulate sweat. They could then locate lights in accordance with the camera, so that when it hits a curved surface, it would bounce back directly into the lens.
This is gold. 2 more people.
But this wasn't completely the norm. Cinematographers like Subrata Mitra were using soft bounce light all the way back in the 50s, which means it wasn't completely a necessity, but a style choice, one that many westerns in particular made for a reason.
I've had enough of your butcher tactics. I know that woman is here.
Sergio Leone was known for using human faces as a type of landscape. To him, the defining features of the human face, brought out through lighting, grounded a character, and thus, he cast some of the most distinct faces in film.
Sergio, one good thing he had, he was great with faces. He didn't just say, get me 4 or 5 people to be in the background. Every one of them had to have a different look.
To him, faces weren't objects, they were a canvas, and told a story on their own. By sculpting with light and shadow, and highlighting texture and imperfections, he informed us about their lives. He didn't have to tell us these people spent all their time out in the sun, he simply showed us.
$50. How much?
In many modern films, a character's roughness is often stated outright. soft light hides the detail of the face and body, and thus we can only tell that a character is rough through the script.
Boys got sand.
So what caused this dramatic shift in style? Well, for that, we have to jump back to 2012.
That's just shit, you know?
The early 2000s saw the rise of digital film as more and more directors began switching to the new medium.
So how'd you get from New York City to the metropolis of lately Florida?
But 2012 is where digital finally, and permanently, caught up to film, with just over 50% of the top 200 grossing live-action films that year utilizing the medium.
Not the knockoff stuff that you see in people's kitchens from time to time.
And with this new shift in medium came new shifts in what audiences considered to be cinematic. See, digital sensors don't have grain, they have noise, meaning the inherent texture of film was replaced by the pristine clarity of pixels.
When they start shooting at you, could you be so kind as to throw it back?
And since digital sensors couldn't handle extreme highlights and shadows as well as analog ones, this meant the hard single-point lights of the past were causing difficulties with their harsh shadows. And so, they were replaced with large soft sources, typically LEDs. This light wraps around the subject, minimizing imperfections and reducing harsh shadows, and had a direct impact in how sunlight now looked in outdoor shots. Just compare these two scenes from Gladiator in 2000 and its sequel in 2024.
And I will have my vengeance, in this life or the next.
Both scenes take place in sunlight, but in the original, we see those harsh highlights, whereas in the newer film, it's so washed out that it appears flat, and the whole scene seems to blend together.
Would sooner face your blade than accept Roman mercy.
But what we also see is a large amount of digital color grading, which gives directors the ability to essentially change the look of a film after it's been shot. This caused the trend of lifting the blacks and replacing them with grays, leading to a softer and more washed out aesthetic.
I told him something that he wasn't ready to hear.
Now, all this isn't to say that one style is inherently better. The clean modern look can be properly used to create a futuristic appearance or ethereal image, but it's now simply become the default.
What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
The face in classic cinema was a document of a physical reality, whereas in modern cinema, it's a carefully constructed image. So the next time you watch a film, look closely at the faces. Are they landscapes or portraits? The answer isn't just cosmetic, it's the language of cinema.
That's not what I'm being paid for.
I'm Luke.
Smash.
Thanks for watching.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.